I'm 83 and I stayed quiet at the table for the last time without knowing. We had dinner every Sunday for years, decades really. It wasn't something we decided. It just became the rhythm of things, the way certain things do in families, quietly, without anyone announcing it. Sunday, the same table, the same chairs that scraped the floor the same way every time someone stood up too fast. My wife used to say we needed new chairs. We never got new chairs. I grew up in a house where meals were serious. You sat down, you ate. You didn't make a lot of noise about how you were feeling. That was just how it was. Not cold. I don't want to make it sound cold. Just quiet, contained. There's a difference, though I'm not always sure I understood that difference until much later. My father was a man who showed up every day. That was his language. Presence, consistency. He never once told me he was proud of me. And I knew he was. I knew it the way you know certain things without proof. But I also spent a long time wondering what it would have sounded like just once. I promised myself I'd be different with my own kids. I said that the way young fathers say things with confidence, like intention, is the same as action. I had 2 children, a daughter, Nadia, a son, Tarek. Nadia was easy to talk to, always was. Even when things were hard between us, she had a way of pulling the words out of the room, making conversation feel possible. Tarek was more like me, quiet, interior. You could sit with him for an hour and feel close to him and still not know what he was thinking. I loved that about him. I also hid behind it. For most of his adult life, there was something between us. Not a fight, nothing that dramatic, just a distance, the kind that builds slowly, the way rust builds. You don't see it happening, and then one day you notice the whole surface has changed. I think it started when he was in his late 20s. He made a decision I didn't agree with about his career. He left something stable for something uncertain, and I didn't handle that well. I didn't yell. I didn't make a scene. I just went quiet in a way that he felt, and he went quiet back, and that was that. We still talked, still showed up for each other, but there was a layer underneath the showing up that neither of us touched. Years passed like that, more than I want to count. His kids were born. I became a grandfather, and there is something about grandchildren, something that softens the architecture of a family. You find yourself in the same room, laughing at the same small person, and for a moment, all the layers underneath don't matter. So we kept going. Sunday dinners, birthdays, Eid, the ordinary calendar of a family that is still, despite everything, a family. The Sunday I keep thinking about, I don't know exactly when it was. A few years ago, maybe 5, maybe 6. Time starts to blur at my age in a way that's hard to explain until it happens to you. What I know is that something had been sitting with me for weeks before that dinner, something I wanted to say to Tarek. It wasn't an apology exactly, though maybe it was. I'm still not sure how to name it. It was more like I wanted to tell him that I understood finally what I had done when I went quiet all those years ago, that I saw it now, that the silence I thought was just disagreement had probably felt to him like withdrawal, like I was leaving while still being in the room. I wanted to tell him that I'd been thinking about my own father, about how long I spent waiting for words that never came, and how I had somehow, without meaning to, built the same kind of quiet around myself. Not the same, but close enough. I carried that into the dinner. I remember sitting in the car outside their house for a moment before going in, just sitting, not thinking about anything in particular, just aware that I had something to say and that I intended to say it. But then you go inside and his wife is tired. You could see it the moment she opened the door the kind of tired that has nothing to do with sleep. She'd had a hard week. She was still warm, still kind, but she was running on something thin, and the kids were everywhere. That particular chaos of young children that is exhausting to watch and also somehow beautiful. Plates being negotiated, someone not wanting what was made, someone else needing something from another room. And Tariq was in the middle of it, managing the way he always managed things, quietly, practically, without asking for help. I looked at all of it and I thought, not now, not tonight. There's a better moment than this, a quieter one. We'll sit down sometime, just the two of us. I'll say it then. I'll say it properly. So I sat down, I ate, I talked about small things. I watched my grandchildren and felt the warmth of being in that house and told myself the other thing could wait because it had already waited this long. At the end of the night, I stood at the door and hugged him the way we always hugged, that brief, solid thing, and I drove home. 4 months later, he told me they were leaving, a job, a real opportunity, the kind you don't turn down, another country, far. And I stood there listening to him explain it, practical, calm, already decided, and I nodded and said I understood, and I meant it. It made sense. It was the right thing for his family. They've been gone 3 years now. We talk, video calls, messages. It's not nothing. I don't want to make it sound like loss when it isn't entirely loss. But that thing I was carrying into the dinner, I never said it. After they left, it felt too heavy to deliver through a screen, too important for a scheduled call. And then time did what time does. It just kept moving. And the moment that specific window where the thing could have been said and landed and meant something, I think that closed. I'm not sure it would have fixed anything. That's the honest truth. And I want to say it plainly because I spent enough time with comfortable stories that aren't quite accurate. Maybe I say everything I wanted to say and he nods and we move on and nothing changes. Maybe the distance between us has less to do with what was said and more to do with who we both are. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But here is what I do know. I didn't say it because I thought there was more time. Not more time in the dramatic sense. I wasn't thinking about death or endings. I just thought there would be another Sunday, a calmer one, a Sunday with less noise and more space. And there probably were more Sundays, but not that Sunday. Not that particular combination of people at that particular table with that particular thing still possible to say. That's the part that stays with me. Not the regret exactly. Regret is too clean a word for it. It's more like a low, persistent awareness that ordinary moments don't announce themselves. That the last time something happens, it almost never looks like the last time. It looks like every other time. The same chairs scraping the floor, the same kids restless before dessert, the same drive home in the dark, thinking, next time. I'm 83. I've had enough next times to know what they cost. There's a photograph on my desk from that period. I don't know exactly when it was taken, somewhere in those years. Tariq is at the head of the table. His wife is passing something to one of the kids. I'm on the side, slightly out of frame, the way I often was in photographs, watching more than participating. I look at it sometimes, not with grief, not exactly, just with a particular feeling of looking at a room you can't go back into. I don't know who watches something like this. Maybe nobody, maybe someone at 2 a.m. who has their own table, their own quiet thing they've been carrying. I'm not telling you to go say it. I'm not in a position to tell anyone anything anymore. I just wanted to say it out loud, that I was there, that I had the words, that the dinner was warm and ordinary, and I drove home thinking there was time. If you have something like this, something sitting in your chest that you keep waiting for the right moment to say, I don't know what that's worth. I just know what the waiting cost me. And I suppose I'd like to know if you do too. You don't have to say anything, but if you want to, I'll be here for a while yet.